Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, organizer, for giving me opportunity to present my work here. So, you had talked about the lattice dynamics. Now, I'll show something else, which is the magnetic dynamics. So, I'll talk about a fundamental physical phenomena of confinement of quasi particles that we have recently observed in a quantum magnet by using inelastic Newton's current. Before going to today's topic, I just would like to briefly introduce you about my research work. I have been working on several magnetic systems which can be grouped in three ways depending on their magnetic lattice dimensionality. So can be one dimensional where the magnetic interaction is present along a particular direction. Can be two dimensional, it is confined in a two dimensional plane, or three dimensional. So I have been working on several magnetic materials, and materials are listed here, and the publications from these materials are listed here. So I will talk on this first group, show the spin chain compound. Here I have listed 4 compounds, they have different spins, so spin 1 for these 2 and spin half and spin 5 half for these 2. So interesting thing is that the magnetic properties of this spin half and integer spin are completely different. And it was first defined by Professor Halden, who has received Nobel Prize this year due to his pioneer work. And I will talk about, I will show the confinement of quasi-particle in this compound based on cobalt. So what does we mean know by the confinement of quasi-particle? The idea comes when you have a system which constitutes of different particles such that if you separate out the particle, the interaction energy increase instead of decrease. So you cannot separate them out. And the concept comes from high energy physics or particle physics, like the baryon and mesons, they form by quarks or quark antiquark pairs. So and they are confined by, they are bound together by a strong interaction, which is called the gauge field. Now, if you increase the space between them, then what happens? The interaction energy increases with time. So if take a meson and try to pull them to make them apart, you see after a certain energy, it becomes a new meson instead of becoming 2 individual quarks. So it is the quark confinement. It was known in the particle physics. Now I'll come to similar phenomena which is observed now in a magnetic systems and in very low temperature. So I'll show this condensed matter analog of this concept, confinement of particle in half-chain compound based on the cobalt. So in this compound, the magnetic chains are formed by cobalt O6 octahedra, which their edges and the chains are running along the crystallographic C direction. And there are 4 chains per unit shell. And the chains are coupled by non-magnetic vanadium O4 tetrahedra, which gives a quick interchain exchange interaction. And that quick interaction plays a interaction potential here to make the quasi-particle confined. So all the study is based on the single crystal. So last single crystal is synthesized by floating zone method. And if you first characterize the sample by bulk property, you see there is an antiferromagnetic transition around 5 Kelvin. And there is a large of magnetic anisotropy which is present below the ordinary temperature as well as above the ordinary temperature. The magnetic ground state is characterized by Powder-Newton diffraction. Here the diffraction pattern above the transition temperature and below the transition temperature. You see the appearance of additional magnetic back peaks which confirms the law of magnetic ordering. And analysis shows that the spins are coupled antiferromagnetic along the chain, and such chains are coupled either ferromagnetic or antiferromagnetic within the plane. And the magnetic moments are pointing along the C-axis, which is the EG axis in our case. So here is the magnetic ordering dimensionality as a function of temperature. So below 5 Kelvin we have 3-dimensional magnetic ordering, and above 5 Kelvin you see the presence of short range magnetic ordering, which is 1-dimensional due to the special crystal structure of this magnetic lattice. So we have this 3-dimensional magnetic ordering state and 1-dimensional magnetic state. Now the magnetic quasi-particle that I am going to show you the confinement, they are studied from inelastic neutral scattering. We measure the magnetic instead scattering by using triple axis spectrometer. This is a typical picture of a triple axis spectrometer, and this is a typical sample which are used for the measurements. Now, if I measure the excitation in the one dimensional magnetic order state above Tn at 6 Kelvin, in this state the magnetic Hamiltonian is defined here. This is the general Hamiltonian, but the three components of the spins are listed here. If the epsilon is 0, then we have Ising. If epsilon is 1, we get Heisenberg's chain. Now here we see the excitation are very diffuse. They are continuum. So if I take a card here, differently, we say that it's a broad over a wide energy range. And this kind of excitations are normally not expected for a magnetic excitation like magnon. There we get a sharp excitation. So something else is going on here. So magnon is and here we see the magnon is deconfined into two quasi-particles which are known as spinons. They each carry spin half and spin half. So this deconfinement phenomena is total completely quantum mechanical effect, which cannot be explained from classical, semi-classical point of view of spin theory. So we now know this is the excitation of spinon, and we get this continuum. So how to understand why we have this continuum? Let me start from basic. Take a pure Ising one-dimensional chain where epsilon is 0, so we have only this part. So in this condition, the ground state is nil type, and there are two kinds of ground states possible, nil on state and 2. So it's doubly degenerate. Now if I look on the excitation spectra of this compound, so I see we can create an excitation by flipping one spin. So we get these two domain 1s or 2 spin on here. Now if I flip subsequently 3 or 5, we don't have to put more energy. There is no cost of energy. Only we have to break 2 bonds every time. So they have the same energy. So these spinons, they are free to move along the chain. There is no cost of energy. Similarly, other cases for the integer spin flipping, there is no cost of energy. So we get a single line in the excitation vector. They have highly degenerate state. There is no cost of energy. So spinons are free to move along the chain. Now, if I introduce a in-plane anisotropy, if epsilon is 0, not 0 here, then we see there in the case also the spinons are free, but they have a boundary and in the energy and momentum space where they are free to move, but they are not free to move above that. So we get this kind of continuum dispersion, which we have observed in our case. Now here I have shown this experimental data, and we have calculated theoretically from the Bethe answers, and this is a theoretical calculated pattern which match exactly same. Not qualitatively, also quantitatively. Here each cards are fitted with the calculated one.
By anisotropy you mean it's vary along the chain?
No, it's not vary. Each spin, so it's spin dimensionality. So it's take a Ising spin, which is a only possibility is only z direction. But yeah, that other cases you have a possibility to flip in other direction. So this calculation gives us the exchange interaction along the chain and also the anisotropy value. So we see our compound belongs to somewhere intermediate between the Ising and Heisenberg limit. So this is we get from the one-dimensional state. Now when I introduce pull below the sample, below the transition temperature, we come to the 3D state, we have an additional term in the Hamiltonian, which is the interchain coupling between two chains. Then you see the excitation spectra, and you see that was the continuum, the yellow one. Now you see you get the sharp peaks. This is very interesting. So continuum is quantized into sharp sharp peaks. So this is I define as a confinement state of the free spinon. In the 1D state, you know that free spinon are free to move. Now they are not free to move, they are confined. So here I enlarge it. So how to understand that? So now these two spinon, this dot, they are not free, they are bound by a string. So if I want to move them apart, there is a cost of energy, we have to put extra energy. So how to understand? So when we are above Cn, so Newton is coming and flipping one spin, we are creating two spin-on. In this state, one-dimensional state, they are free, they can move independently along this chain, there is no cost of energy. Now, if I cool the sample below the ordinary temperature, there is a coupling between two chains. So now, if I want to move these spin-ons apart, then we have to break this interchain coupling. So that costs energy, and that's why these spin-ons are bound. And the pattern where we go back, so these are the additional energy we need to put to break the bonds. So these are corresponding to one of the breaking of the bonds. So now the center of mass motion of this confined spin-ons to spin-ons pair can be calculated by one-dimensional Heisenberg equation is given here. So this is the interaction potential energy, which is we have found that is proportional to the distance between the spin-on, and it is varying linearly. That how we get that I will come. So here I show that the peak energies and the mathematical solution, which is a function of negative, this complex mathematics, array function, you see there is a straight line, and it defines that it is a linear confinement potential. And this is the pictorial representation of the potential, which around this is the distance between the spin-on and the potential energy is increasing, which is equivalent to the confinement potential. Where you separate them, then your potential is also increasing with distance. So, and this kind of confinement, whether we can tune them, we can modify them, yes, we can do. So if I apply a magnetic field along the chain direction, we are here at the geomagnetic field in the what I presented. So if I apply a magnetic field, we can go from this state to other state. So we can confine and deconfine this state. This is a cartoon which says that we have a ground state, and then we go to a spin-on state, which are free. Here they are bound, and they can again make free by applying a magnetic field. Okay, in summary, I have shown the confinement phenomena in the magnetic system or magnetic quasi-particle, and I should acknowledge the people who are involved in this work. Professor Bera, my postdoc supervisor, and the instrument scientists from different facilities. And thank you very much for your kind attention. Now.
Being a chemist, I understand very well what you're doing.
Yeah.
Aside from the word quarks, your quarks and the quark analogy, if there is an analogy for quarks and the confinement of quarks
yes.
that you've mentioned earlier,
yep.
Is there an analogy in condensed matter physics for the Gauss particle, for the Higgs boson?
Yes, that do. So in this system also we see that kind of phenomena that I have not presented yet. If you see the individual sharp peaks, they are two peaks for each. If you go for that gives that there is also amplitude vibration. That is purely quantum mechanics, because the spin-off theory only gives two modes, which are tangents. So here also we see the fluctuation of the moment, and that is corresponding to the this Higgs boson mode.
Very briefly, you showed a beautiful staircase.
Yeah.
Things. Can you say anything about the lifetime from the line widths?
Yeah, they are very long life. This is very amazing because they don't decay. You see, their peaks are instrumental resolution limited. They are very long life.
And you estimate how long they
are? I don't have estimation because they are instrumental resolution limited.
Any other question? Thank you, Dr. Bera.